select the value, parse the variable, select the value, and parse the variable. Cool. So now my final output table is ready. Now this is good to go for making the logic for the automation. Ever find yourself racing against the clock to troubleshoot network issues? As network engineers, we have felt the pressure firsthand. In this video series, we will show you how you can automate anything, including tackling complex network problems such as unaudited firewall security policy changes in 5 minutes or less, and that too without any coding requirement. So, do you think we can beat the clock? Keep watching to find out. The challenge we have chosen for today's video is the Achilles heel of network engineers: unintended security policy changes on the network firewalls. Using NetBrain's no-code automation solution, I will create an assessment to continuously check for any security policy changes on a weekly basis and alert the user. So let's see how this can be done. Now here is what I want my final output to look like. We have a firewall assessments dashboard to run all sort of checks and assessments on our Palo Alto firewalls and show the results network-wide. If I take a look here, there is a daily check which checks if any of the CPU or memory has crossed the threshold. And then there is one alert on the New York side. If I click on this alert, I can see that there is one device which has crossed the threshold for the memory usage. Now the goal is pretty simple. Along with the daily check of resource usage, I also want to add another weekly check to assess if any of the security policy on my firewalls has made any deviation. And I want to run this check every Sunday and give me the results before the business hours start on Monday. So let's see how this can be done using the NetBrain no-code automation platform. The first step for me is to get any one of the device where I want to run the check. So using the universal search bar, I can search for the Palo Alto devices. So let's select any one of them and bring it onto a map. Once I have a device onto a map, I can go to the intent section. Since this is a new automation that we are going to create, I'm going to use the quick intent feature, which helps us to create and test the automations on the fly. So let me run the existing command show running security policy, which is in my history, and retrieve the data from the device. Once I have the output, I can go ahead and create the parsing. Now parsing is transforming the output from the raw format into a more readable format over which we can then create our automation logics. For this, I will create a new parser and then I will choose the paragraph parser, since it is clearly visible that the output is in the form of a paragraph where the start of each paragraph is the name of the policy. So let's provide this as the ID line of our paragraph, and here we have all the security policies listed in our output table. Let me change the name of the variable to policy name. Next, I also want to get the parameters for each of the policy, like the source, destination, and the application services which are allowed or denied in the policy. Now all this can be done very easily with the no-code parsing feature which we have. For example, if I click any one of the parameters and then click on parse variable, NetBrain will automatically put the values of the destination against each of the policy name. Similarly, I can do the same thing for my source addresses as well. And I need not worry about which of the policy I need to select for parsing the values. I can do this with any one of the values and NetBrain will automatically parse for each of the policy. You can see how quick it is to parse each of the parameters. Now the last thing that is left for me is to parse the application and the action. Let's do the same thing of click and parse. So select the value, parse the variable, select the value, and parse the variable. Cool. So now my final output table is ready. Now this is good to go for making the logic for the automation. Let me click on OK and apply and continue. Now as a next step, we want to add this to our intent and create the diagnosis logic. Let's name the diagnosis. Now the logic here I'm going to use is pretty simple. I will compare the entire table that we parsed against its baseline value, the value which is present in the table as of now. So in future, if any of the values in the table change, I want to raise an alert. For this, I will choose the paragraph that we parsed, and if it does not equal the baseline value, here I will throw an alert to the user that $this device security policy has changed. Let's set the status code for our intent and the device. And then in the else logic, I want to throw a success message if none of the security policy has changed. So $this device security policy has not changed. And again, set the status code. Now with this, we have finished creating the automation. Phew, we managed to beat the clock. What an exhilarating automation adventure. Now before replicating this automation to all other devices, let's first test this. Again, I can do this on the same window by creating and then running the intent. Okay, so as of now, we can see there are no alerts. Now as the next step of replicating this to all other devices, we first need to save this intent. So I will save it to my common intent and name it security policy weekly check and click on OK. Then finally, I will open the intent, and then using this menu option, I can just quickly replicate it using the replication wizard. The intent is pre-selected. Let's click on next. Now NetBrain is asking me to define the scope of replication. For this, I can either create a new automation data table, which is a list of devices of a certain type or group, or use an existing ADT. Since I already have an existing ADT of all the Palo Alto firewalls in my network, let me reuse it. So I will select the Palo Alto Firewalls automation data table and click on OK. Then I will click on next after defining what is the qualification for this intent. And finally, we can finish the replication. Now here I have opened the automation data table where we replicated our security policy weekly check intent. And you can see along with the resource usage check, I also have the weekly check. Now the last step that is left is just to schedule this intent to run on a weekly basis. So now I want to run it every week, Sunday at 6 p.m. Let me click on OK. And finally, I also want to use the results over a summary dashboard, which has all the Palo Alto Firewall assessments. For this, I can create a new dashboard and then quickly add it to my existing summary dashboard. Let me use the Firewall Assessments dashboard. And then here, I can see already I have a group of daily checks. Let me add a new dashboard group called weekly checks and finally click on OK. Now let's open the summary dashboard to view the results. Cool. So this is my final dashboard after the intents have been finished executing. And now we can see on the weekly checks, there is data, which says that out of the 2 firewalls, none of them had any deviation. I can click on the success messages to see the individual diagnosis on each of the firewall as well.
Thanks for joining us for today's Automation Challenge. Before you resume your role as a network superhero, be sure to explore the links in the description below. If you're ready to see how NetBrain can solve your network operations challenges, schedule a customized demo with an engineer who truly understands your concerns. For our existing NetBrain users looking to level up their automation game, don't miss out on our upcoming 2-day power user trainings. These instructor-led courses are free for all our customers and are offered live at multiple locations and dates. And if you're just starting out with NetBrain, no problem. Take advantage of NetBrain University's free training resources, which include the Class Lab, a live playground where you can test, build, automate, and explore NetBrain to your heart's content. Until next time, network automation engineers, stay tuned for our upcoming episode where we'll tackle yet another automation challenge in under 5 minutes.